Welcome to Vegas Views. I'm Dawn Sullivan, and this is
Danny Meyer.
my co-host, guys. Please give Danny a round of applause at home. Thank you so much for logging in today. I just wanted to keep you guys updated what's going on. We have a fantastic show that you're not gonna want to miss. I have on Carmynn Bradley with another one of our unfortunate crime stories. If you guys don't know who Danny is, Danny, tell them a little bit about yourself.
I do a show. It's called The Crime Solver. I have a TikTok with 170,000 followers. My goal is to get cold cases out there, missing people, because when these things go cold, law enforcement has no pressure on them to solve it. So you got to keep it out there. You got to keep it out there in the public eye, because if you don't, law enforcement will put it on the back burner, because all new cases are coming in every day. So you have to keep it in the limelight. So that's what I'm doing with my TikTok. That's what I do with my show. I try to keep the cold case into the limelight, the missing persons, because if you don't, honestly, Don, if you don't, cops are human. They're gonna, if there's no pressure on them, they're gonna put that in the back burner, and the pressure cases they're gonna try to solve. So when cases go cold, they forget about them. You know, they forget about them because new cases came in. So it's very important to keep these cases up there.
Absolutely.
It definitely.
So with you keeping cases alive like this, how does this work? You have a lot of the public coming to you saying, hey, this happened to my friend, family member, so on, husband, wife, whatever it is, and you investigate this, kind of reopen this case on your own.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's somebody knows something about everything. I always say this, Don. Cops do not solve cases.
Sure.
They're just information gatherers. The public solves the cases. What they hear, what they see, we just gather the facts, and we take credit for it. Yeah. Really, the public solved the case. The cops just take credit for it. But you got to get that information. We're fact gatherers. That's what cops are.
Sure.
And you got to keep this into the public eye. And I probably get, we were just talking before the show, probably about 50 messages a day of people saying, would you do a TikTok in this case? My friend's been missing. My loved one's been missing. I really feel like I'm helping people.
Sure.
I mean, people contact me on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
I hope I am.
I'm on your TikTok, you guys, because you got to log into his TikTok, because sometimes it's funny. And you know, we all can all use a sense of humor, which is certainly when we're talking about hard things or crime and stuff like this. He's funny, the way he comes at things, and it's very approachable. I feel like it's a very approachable way to come at something hard. And I love the work that you do, and I think it is fantastic. How do you keep up with that, though? You have all these people that this is going on, that's going on. How do you keep up with, and how do you prioritize helping these people? I know.
I set up an email, so I get a lot of emails, but then I get DM'd on my TikTok, DM'd on my Instagram, DM'd on Facebook. I mean, it's constant. I just try to read them every day, and I tell people, I said, I will get to your video. I promise them I will do a video.
Sure. Because
it's so important. I mean, having 170,000 followers, I try to get it out to them, and then if they share it, you don't know how many people you're getting to.
Absolutely.
And that's how you just got to get that one person that saw something, that heard something. It could solve a case. I just had a guy recently. It was ended in a sad ending. He was on my show. His partner was missing 2 years ago in Los Angeles.
Okay.
He was taking an Uber, okay? So he's taking this Uber, and when he was taking the Uber, he dialed 911 and text people 911 while he was on this Uber. Never seen again for 2 years. I had him on, I did a TikTok for him, and he's a big creator also. His partner's a big creator on TikTok, so he contacted me. I did the video, and then I had him on my podcast.
Sure.
And believe it or not, it's so weird. 2 weeks later, they found the body of his partner.
Just getting it out there.
Yes, it's so weird. I mean, I don't know if it helped at all.
I'm sure it did.
But they ended up finding this body. Some guy ended up stumbling across it, and it was only a mile from where the Uber guy dropped him off.
Wow.
So I don't know if they're not saying it's suspicious circumstances.
Sure.
They're not saying anything, but they did find him after 2 years. It was so weird. 2 weeks after he was on my podcast.
Wow.
So you just got to keep getting the information out there. You got to keep getting the information out there, because that's how you solve these cases.
Now let me ask you. You've been doing this for a long time. What are you, 27, 20? You've been in this game for a long time.
I was a cop for 27 years.
Yeah.
I started when I was 20. I retired at 47.
Yeah.
So I did 27 years of it. So yeah.
Can I ask you now, is it so much easier with the internet, with DNA, is it almost like you can open these cold cases and there's a hope of solving them now, where 15, 20 years ago there was probably no hope?
Exactly. If you see, DNA is like that's the king of everything right
Sure.
now. All of us in this room, we're leaving DNA every time we come in a room.
Sure.
Everything. So DNA is way better than fingerprints.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, I think back on my career, I was a detective. I can count on two hands how many times we found fingerprints. It's hard to find fingerprints.
Guys, do you hear that? It's hard to. Every crime show I watch, it's like they're dusting. It's like, now we got the killer, or now we got the person. So that's not necessarily true.
Listen, when you dust for fingerprints, you have to have, there's a little circle in the middle of your finger. If you don't get that identifies everybody. You are not going to be able to identify the person. There's a certain thing. So it's very hard. Not only when you find a print, then you got to lift it. It's hard to lift it without making it damaged. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you usually photograph it and everything before that. But what I'm saying is it's very hard to get fingerprints. And the thing about DNA does not come back right away. Did you ever see the police shows like 2 days later, we got him, the DNA came back?
That's not real.
No, that's not real. Yeah. It's months and months down the line. I mean, of course, like, they'll prioritize some cases. Sure. Do you know what I mean? No, but DNA takes a long time. But my buddy just retired from the state police in Pennsylvania, and he now joined this company that does just cold case DNA. Okay. So they're a private company that can help people find their loved ones, their missing people. So cases are being solved constantly because of this DNA. It's our fingerprint of who we are. I mean, it's so crazy. It really is. And it's the biggest tool law enforcement has.
I love this. I think it is remarkable because so many families are being helped.
Yeah.
Finding their loved ones, giving them proper burials. I mean, there's so much to that, especially with missing people and not knowing.
Yeah.
And then finding out, let's say I saw something on 10, 15, 20 years later, and it's like, that was the person that did it. And even if they're deceased, at least you have some clarity. I'm sure that doesn't help the families, but at least there's some clarity to what happened, other than that big question mark, because that's got to be the worst.
Well, if you think about it, the big case that happened last year back in November, I think it was November 13th, the Idaho case, where the 4 college students.
So sad.
Yes. I mean, that case, I probably got 15,000 new followers because of that case. I've been on Dateline because of that case. I was on 2020 because of that case. That case was just huge. But DNA basically solved that case. Absolutely. It was touch DNA. That the knife case, he left at the scene.
Yeah.
Who knows why? Maybe he was struggling with one of the victims, dropped the knife case, but his DNA is on that sheath.
Yeah.
I mean, this case is cut and dry.
It's close.
His DNA is on there. I don't care what people say. I don't care what the defense says. Mm-hmm. How did his DNA get on that knife?
Exactly.
They could say, oh, it was a party house. He was in that house before. Okay, did he bring a knife to the party house? Right. I mean, so it's going to be a big thing for him. So DNA is the big thing.
I love this work. I love what you do. Guys, we're going to be back in just a second, and we have on Carmynn Bradley. She's going to be telling us her story. So tune back in with us. This one's going to be good.
This show is brought to you by Deborah Richards. Move Me No Mountains. Now available at Amazon Prime.
It's a tough market. We get it. Home inventory is at an all-time low. It's a seller's market, and cash buyers have the advantage. Recently, cash buyers made up more than a quarter of all home purchases. But we have the solution. New American Funding's Buyer Accepted program allows your buyers to compete with all cash offers by becoming cash buyers themselves. Here's how it works. Buyer Accepted LLC, an affiliated company of New American Funding, will purchase your buyer's new home with cash and sell it back to them for the original purchase price, plus a fee that can be added to the purchase of the home once they secure mortgage financing with New American Funding. The best part is that they don't need to sell their current home first. This is a true cash offer. Clients who use our Buyer Accepted program can secure financing using a conventional loan and even VA. Plus, there are no fees for agents and no sacrificing commissions. Buyer Accepted even offers a free 1-hour certification course that will make you the expert. You want to close more deals and help more clients? New American Funding's Buyer Accepted program is the answer.
Have you ever dreamed of sharing your views and knowledge with the world? It should be easy, right? Just turn on your phone, talk into the camera, upload to your social media, then sit back and wait to go viral. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. Not only that you need a great message, You also need a video production as well as a quality sound and lighting. If that's not enough, you still need to make sure that video's description, title, and thumbnails are optimized by SEO and search algorithms. What a hassle! Don't worry, Social Media Shows is here to help. With our years of production online experience and professional studio, we can remove all the technical roadblocks out of your way so that you can focus on the message you want to share with the whole world. We have production plans that fit any budget. Visit Social Media Shows today at socialmediashows.com and schedule your free pilot audition today.
Welcome back to Vegas Views. Don?
So we have Carmynn Bradley here. She's about to tell us her story. Carmynn, tell us a little bit about yourself, and first of all, thank you for being here.
Of course, thank you for having me. Yeah, well, like she said, my name's Carmynn Bradley. I'm a self-proclaimed actress, singer, model. I just got started not that long ago, but that's kind of what I'm passionate about. I've always been passionate about the arts. I taught high school for 8 years. That's what got me passionate about mental health. So I've actually been working with clients on PTSD, anxiety now for the last couple of years. That's kind of my goal, like in combination to ending like cycles of violence and getting answers out there, is also just to talk about mental health, because my brother's death was the thing that kind of sent me spiraling. So
Okay.
yeah.
So let me ask you, you see people for mental health, all age groups, children, adults, or is there anything specific that you're working with?
I don't see kids.
No, no kids.
I
Okay.
do see teenagers. My main age group is like between 30 and 40.
Okay.
So I'm generally working with people who have a lot of childhood trauma or like young adult trauma,
Sure.
and essentially like trying to pull that out to the surface. My goal eventually is to get people to find like their authentic self, like get rid of the pain, be who you are, love who you are, be confident.
Oh, I love that.
Great.
That is super cool. But this combo here really is cool because I'm thinking to myself, like, you are the person that's going to try to help and fix the person before they ever get to Danny and they do the negative things where he has to go find them. You're trying to fix those wounds. Because would you say sometimes, I guess this question is for both of you, would you say sometimes those wounds are what make people do these things? Kill, murder. I mean, if you weren't so broken in here, you may not be doing these things. I guess my question is here, I don't believe that someone's just born a murderer.
That's kind of my takeaway is not really the right word, but when it comes to my brother, he was in violence because we grew up in a violent household. My stepfather was violent, so he became violent as kind of like a way to cope with it. So he lived by the sword, he died by the sword. And I think if people grow up with like love and care, then they're not going to go down those pathways. I think you're exactly right.
So tell me a little bit about that. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in California. I guess I spent the most of my time in Corona, so it's like Riverside,
I know where
Riverside
that is.
County.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you grew up with your brother, mother?
My
Mom,
mom,
dad?
my stepdad, my older sister. My brother has a twin.
Okay.
So she, other sister, and then my youngest sister, she's 11 years younger than me. So there were 5 kids.
Okay.
Big family.
So there was violence growing up.
Yeah.
Okay. Toward you as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually, when I was 17, I got put in foster care because my stepdad gave me a black eye.
Okay.
So my whole so it was a Friday night, like a late Friday night. He was having like a barbecue with all of his friends.
And how old was he at this time?
18.
18. Okay. So he was a kid himself.
A kid.
Okay.
Yeah, a kid. He went to the park. I don't know why. He ended up like leaving the house. He had a bunch of people over. He went to the park with a friend, and from my understanding, they got jumped. There's so many things though that like once you look back, you realize the story is different than what you thought. Like
Yeah.
I always thought that my brother was like killed by gang members, but he was probably in one, and that like goes
Sure.
back to what you were
Right.
saying about like why do you die that way? Because you're in it. Because that's what your life is about. His life was violence. His life was fighting. It was, you know.
One thing I could say, there's a cycle. Okay, like I said, I was a cop for 27 years, and in them 27 years, I arrested fathers, then I arrested sons,
Absolutely.
because I would go to their house for domestic violence when they were 8 years old, and now they're 25.
Absolutely.
And now I'm arresting them for domestic violence. It's this cycle. Because you're right, we all, I'm lucky I grew up in a household where that wasn't like that. Where would I be if I did grow up in a household like that? I would be a total different person. It's just the way it is. I mean, our environment is everything.
Absolutely.
It's going to depend where you go.
Yep.
We all don't start on a level field. We don't. And people think we do. We don't. Some people start with money. Some people start middle class. Some people start right here at the bottom. So we definitely don't.
I also think regardless of the money, it all really depends on actually the parenting, the love you get, who is raising you.
I agree.
All of those
Yes.
things. So regardless to the financial status, it's what you're getting that's creating what you're going to be. And another thing is humans, and Carmynn, you can definitely agree with this, that we want to go toward our comfort, what we know. We're not going to step outside something we know. If we're raised one way, and I'm sure this can resonate with some of the followers, that if you were born one way, why would you go live a different way as an adult? You wouldn't. You kind of gravitate to what you know. So that says that cycle can't end until you put a stop to that cycle.
Exactly.
So if you're at home, guys, and you're sitting there thinking, why is my life in this direction? Or why am I in this domestic violence situation? Or why are my children acting out like this? Or take a deep look inside, not to put it all on you, but take a look in the mirror and see what's going on. Check how you were raised, and it's possibly just generational. They call it the generational curses these days, and I 100% believe in the generational curse. Until they're broken, you might just continue on pattern after pattern after pattern. And the sad thing is some people think this is normal.
Right.
They think it's like, oh, my cousin, uncle, brother, sister are in jail. Jail's normal because it's normal for their family.
I was just going to say that. I went through a class when I was a police officer. If every person in the neighborhood's father are going to jail all the time, it's just normal behavior. It's nothing. It's not even shocking.
Yeah.
It's not even shocking. Yeah, my dad's in jail. And it ends up being normal behavior for everybody.
Absolutely.
And I mean, that shouldn't be, and that's what keeps the cycle going. And if it's not stopped, it's going to be the father, the son, the grandkid. It's just going to continue.
Well, Danny, to take that further, guys, it's almost like with women too. Let's just say there's a woman in this domestic violence situation, a little girl's being raised in that. I commend you, because you're not obviously I know you're not in a domestic violence situation. I know Carmynn personally, and she's in a very, very beautiful relationship with someone who loves her very much and cares. You're an exception to the rule, because normally growing up like that, watching domestic violence and seeing that, you would just fall right back into that, because that's maybe not comfortable to our standard, but it's comfortable what getting yelled at maybe or hit or something is what you've seen. Why not? That's what it's supposed to be. Yeah. So for you to be strong enough to take yourself out of that, educate yourself enough and say, oh, no, not my life is going to be in a loving, kind relationship, and that's beautiful to me. So guys, if you are at home, take an inner look sometimes. If you think your life is just in a cycle and it's like your grandparents are the same or your parents, start breaking these these curses.
Dawn, one other thing I want to talk about domestic violence and what I've learned. A lot of people will say, why doesn't she just leave him? Why doesn't she just do this? Right? I hear that all the time. No. And I seen this firsthand. I went on these calls. First of all, it's sometimes they don't have enough money to leave. Okay, so they need money to leave. And then they care about their kids. Where are they going to take their kids? Where are they going to live? So, I mean, a lot of people, it's not as easy as saying, I'm just going to leave.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's just, and I hate when people say that. She should just leave. She should just leave.
The statistic is with domestic violence, it takes a woman 7 times, at 7 attempts, whether that's running away, getting an order of protection, leaving and coming back 7 times to fully get away from their abuser. And yes, it has something to do with money and what am I going to do with the kids and this and that, but I really believe it's also a true form of brainwashing. When someone has you knocked down so low, it is so difficult to get out of that situation. You're believing things that aren't really true. It's a built narrative. Would you agree that would probably be a built narrative for you? You're supposed to believe you're lower form of who you are, so you project that, you live that. Yeah.
Well, one thing I think some people don't really understand is that narcissists are real. There are people out there who are intentionally telling women you don't feel what you feel. This didn't happen, so they don't believe in their truth. The amount of women that I see that they just don't really see it. I don't know why, for some reason as a kid I saw it. And I just knew, this is not the way that it was. And so I kind of went on, my own mission as a young adult to say, I'm going to tell my story because, there were people not listening to me, you
Sure.
know? But there are people who don't think that people will listen, or like you said, they just think it's normal. So there's no reason for them to speak out because like they've been told you deserve this, or like it all goes down to shame. There's like lots of movies out lately that are allegories to this like shame that gets put in you that essentially like drives who you are. You have to heal that shame before you can like believe that you deserve something.
Or do anything for that matter, because then you're still stuck in the cycle and nothing is good with the cycle.
Yeah.
I love this, guys. I don't want to stay on this topic for too long, but I love this. They say your life is 90% the person that you're with. So if you're with a good man or woman, whatever the relationship is, and that person's supportive and loving and kind, and you can live out your dreams, you will be a successful person and then live your dreams. If you're with someone who's constantly telling you you're no good, you're never going to be good enough. I mean, it is that. And I see this a lot too we work with a lot of young people as well. And they're in these very young relationships. And he said, I'm this, or I'm talking about, and I'm like, you're allowing someone to already disrespect you at such a young age, but because they're learning that at home. They see dad doing that to mom, and it's like, this boy likes me because he doesn't want me to go out to a party. That's, these crazy, well, in my opinion, crazy things because they don't know what it's like to live in a normal environment. So I really do appreciate the work you do to really get people to their authentic self. It resonates with me. I worked very, very hard on myself, and I'm in a space, and I think we all can use mental health, however that looks for you, whatever that looks like. So tell me a little bit more about your brother. So you think he gets jumped. You're okay. How did you find out that he passed?
I found out Saturday morning. My mom called me. My mom has called me to tell me that people have passed multiple times. So even just, I could like feel it, like the phone rang. I think it rang maybe like real early in the morning, like 3 a.m. or something. And I just felt something off, so I didn't answer. A couple hours later, I did answer, and she just said Will was murdered. That was it, just one sentence. I just like fell on the floor. I was living with my younger sister at the time, his twin. So then I had to tell her. And then it was just a couple hours of like, I guess you could call it processing, but like really more reacting. We're reacting to this. Like, I just didn't believe it was true.
So can I ask you, Carmynn, at this stage of your life, had you had enough mental help, or were you still completely traumatized from the past when this happened?
I was already lost.
Okay. So you weren't on your path yet. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was already on my own path to the darkness. Like I was nearing on suicidal thoughts at that time. So a month after my brother was murdered, I tried to kill myself. That I couldn't deal.
So was that a combination of just the upbringing, everything you've seen, everything you've heard, plus now this horrific, traumatizing, traumatic experience?
My younger siblings were always my why.
I love that.
So I lost my brother, and I had something inside of me that was like, what's the point, So he was kind of that, or this event was definitely the trigger to my own like healing and self-development, but I definitely had to go down to the abyss first before
How hard was that?
Made my way out. I don't know how to quantify it. It's the hardest thing I ever had to go through.
Was it the best thing you've ever had to go through? Yeah.
I think sitting here, knowing where I'm at in my life, and the things that I have going for me now, like I wouldn't be here if it weren't for that. So it's always like when something like that happens, you're gonna be like, it's like in my monologue, I'm going to an event in New York. My monologue is
RIMTA, New York event. You guys know, all our fans know. We're going to New York June 24th to June 30th. Sorry, no more people can come with us. We're all done. So don't hit us up for that, but we're actually going in January, so you can hit us up for that. But Carmynn is going for modeling, acting, and singing as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So my monologue is about my brother, and there's a part in it that says, like, guilt told me you're not allowed to be happy. And that was the biggest thing after it happened. For many years after, I would genuinely feel guilty for being happy. I'd be like running along the beach, and this just feeling would hit me like, you're not allowed to be happy. Why should you be happy? So sitting here genuinely feeling happy day after day after day is such an interesting shift, especially to be able to say, like, my brother was stabbed to death and I am happy in this moment, and to genuinely like believe that and to know that that was the event that got me here. There's like an irony to it, you start talking about it and you're like,
today, do you believe you deserve to be happy?
Yeah, I do.
Good. You do.
Yeah.
You are so wonderful. You really are. She's such a good actress. She's a beautiful mom. Just everything about Carmynn. Everyone that comes in her path loves her and adores her. And she does so much great work and helps everybody. You're such a wonderful person. You do deserve happiness. We want to try to help you. Danny, what can we do here?
I was thinking you turn the negative into a positive. I mean, and everybody says to do that, but you've done it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. And mental health is, I love TikTok, and I got to go back to my TikTok, okay? But TikTok there's a lot of mental health things on TikTok.
Yes.
And it brought some stuff out to me. I mean, I kid about this, but it's true. I do have ADHD.
Oh, I
So,
know.
so, I mean...
It's like I diagnosed her. She opened the DSM like, oh yeah, he's there.
But it helped me because then I start getting ADHD TikToks. And I found out there's people just like me. You know what I mean? I've always had problems sleeping because my mind's always going. I'm always thinking. It's nonstop. Like you, I can't remember names. That's part of ADHD, that you can't remember people's names. You interrupt people because you're afraid you're going to forget what you're going to say.
And
because
you need to get it out right now.
You're not being rude. I mean, it helped me. And I see a lot of other mental health things. We got to realize when somebody has cancer, we don't sit there and film them. But when somebody has addictions or mental health problems, we're filming them and putting them on social media. It's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. These people have a disease and we're filming them. We wouldn't film somebody with MS or cancer or this, but yet mental health, we don't feel that's a disease. We feel we're okay to make fun out of these people.
It is so
and it's horrible.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's so sad. And I do get those sometimes. I don't know why the algorithm does that to me sometimes, but I get some of those.
Right.
And I'm like, this is sick. And people are laughing at people like falling down on fentanyl.
Right. I mean,
that just kills people. It's one of the #1 killers in America right now.
Yeah.
And people are laughing.
Yeah.
And to me, I can't stomach it.
Addiction is real. I mean, being a cop, I know, I've seen people struggle to try to get off drugs. I've seen them struggle. And basically what drugs is a coping mechanism. When you have a bad life, you're going home to violence every day, so they start doing drugs. So it's the whole entire cycle. It goes back to, your environment again.
Absolutely.
It's my brother's life story.
Right. I mean, it goes back. You self-medicate yourself. You know that, right? Yeah. So it's just, it's horrible. But for your brother, I definitely would love, when we get off, if you could text me his name. I'll do research. We'll do a TikTok. We'll start getting information out there. Did the cops take the case serious? Did the cops, do you ever hear from the investigators or no?
No. I mean, my mom was definitely the front woman for that.
Okay.
And she was very frustrated.
With the cops?
Yeah, because there was one kid who came to us the day we found out, actually. We were all sitting there, and there was this moment where we weren't really sure if it was him.
Okay.
Because it was a homicide, so we couldn't go to the hospital where his body was. And so there was a part of me that was like, maybe they made a mistake. Maybe it's some other brother. And this kid came to us, and he told us what happened, and basically he was an eyewitness.
Right.
And then he took off. So whatever was happening within that community, he was afraid that something was going to happen to him, and he went to Mexico. And then whoever was involved, they weren't talking, and that was kind of the last thing that I heard.
That happens a lot. Mm. You go to the neighborhoods, people are afraid. Mm-hmm. They're afraid of these gang members. I don't know if it was gang related. I'm just saying they're afraid of these people, so they don't want to tell. Yeah. They may have seen something, so it's very hard for the police to get witnesses when something like this happens, especially in a neighborhood that's a little rough. It's hard to go in there and get people to talk because they're afraid.
I know last week we talked about this a little bit, Danny, with Levi's case.
Yeah.
And thank you for putting that out, by the way. That's doing really, really well. There's so many followers, so many people opening that up. But
good.
Kind of you and Dave tapped into it last week about Levi's case, where if there are drugs involved or gangs involved, that the police may take it a little bit differently. Not like a statistic, there's another one, brush it to the side. But if it was just like an out-of-nowhere murder, stabbing in a park on a... it might have been different, where they would have treated it differently. Do you believe that? I do believe this, and I'm going to prove it all to you, okay? Look at the cases that they publicize on the media, right? John Benet Ramsey case. Now listen, that case bothers me to today. My goal in life is to solve that case. But why was that case, millions of little kids, not millions, but thousands of little kids die like that, right? Unfortunately here in America. But why that case? Because they were a rich family. Yep.
in a rich neighborhood.
Yep.
That's why. They pick the cases they want.
Elizabeth Smart.
Yes, same thing. Yep, same thing. That's why they publish.
Petito.
Yep, and
They
that
all look the same in just a different situation.
and that case, that Gabby case, that we're going back to domestic violence, the cops caused her death.
Absolutely.
100%. The cops should have arrested him when he slapped her in the face. When the O.J. Simpson case happened, I know you're young, you probably don't remember the O.J. Simpson case, but when the O.J. Simpson case, that changed law enforcement. There are any signs of domestic violence, now you have to make an arrest.
Absolutely.
So say this was your house, and I came in and there was just stuff knocked all over the floor. There's signs of domestic violence. I have to make an arrest.
At least one
Have to.
person. You have to take
Yes,
someone out of
I
the
have to
environment.
take somebody. So now she has this big mark of a slap across her face. They leave her go, and then she's murdered days later. I mean, it's just
They killed her. I
they
believe that.
that family deserves millions from them.
Yeah,
Them cops
absolutely.
made mistake 101. It was horrible. It
Yeah.
really was. So
Watching that footage actually made me sick the way, just to stay with Gabby, because that one hits me. I was really attached to that case too,
Yeah.
with John Benet Ramsey. And watching Gabby, when she was in the back of the van and she was shaking and she was so frail and small, and you can tell even the way she was sitting, her, and Carmynn, you can see this from a psychological standpoint, her body language was, she was so scared, and she was like, I don't know, and she was blaming herself. That is the number one
thing, yeah.
the number one thing when someone's blaming themselves because they're too scared to say, oh no, this idiot just hit me, I'm going to blame me, I hit him first, I made him mad.
Right.
And the cops in Utah, not to knock Utah, but we're like, oh okay, yeah, women do that. And the way they were talking to him, like
yes.
almost womenizing. I'm watching this even before it came out, because
Right.
that came out before they had found it. I was like, this is crazy. It's like and it might just be a Utah thing. Don't hate me, Utah.
And here's the thing. They got called.
Utah hate now.
They got called because somebody witnessed him slapping her.
Yeah.
Somebody witnessed the event.
Yeah.
Seriously, honestly, them cops should be fired. I'm being honest with you. If I was their supervisor, they'd be fired.
Yeah.
I'd be pushing for firing because they got the witness that said he slapped her.
Yeah.
She sees a mark on her face. They caused this young girl's death. They did.
And then just the kicker, and then I'll end with the Gabby Petito stuff. But the kicker on that, they made her sleep in the van all night long. They put him up
Yes.
in a hotel.
Yes.
They told her to stay, like she did something wrong in that situation and to
Yeah.
just die a day or so later.
Yes.
And so she had no faith that anyone could save her. So like sometimes the system lets people down completely when it comes to domestic violence, child abuse, all of it. Real quick, on child abuse cases, this is another one too, same thing as domestic violence. These CPS workers will come to somebody's house, oh no, the kids are fine because there's food in the fridge and these kids are
Or
okay.
they'll ask you in front of your aggressor. So you'll be
So
sitting there with your
so
stepdad.
you have been in that CPS
Yeah.
Child Protective Service situation,
Yeah,
and then you're scared to say no, this idiot hit me,
yeah. They
and
literally
then
they'll
they
put
leave you in the
there.
home.
Yeah.
Oh.
Or they took
See.
him out. They took him out for a couple months, just let him back. This happened multiple times.
Yeah.
They take him out. He was on like house arrest in some other house in the same city, still had access to the kids. It was just like over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Multiple chances. Yeah.
And your mom is so beautiful. I'm so glad. I had met Carmynn's mom at her wedding, and I am she's just such a beautiful woman. I'm so glad she's out of that situation and environment. That is awesome. How is she today over your brother? I'm sure you've never healed from something like that, but how does she get by? She okay?
I think through love. She
Okay.
moved out of state. She had to.
Okay.
She had to
Yeah.
get out. So she lives in Idaho now. And she met a man who just loves her unconditionally.
She's in
Awesome.
a good, healthy relationship.
Good, healthy
I love
relationship.
that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
See, I feel like Danny said to you before, you are like the 1%. Like it's almost like this tragedy happened for her, but she cleaned up all around it and
Yes.
made the best of that situation.
Yes.
Yeah. See, when negative things happen to me, some people will say to me, well, Dawn, this is terrible, that's terrible, and I'm grateful for everything terrible that's ever happened to me. And I've been through a lot. You guys don't know my story, but I have been through a lot myself, but I am so grateful for every single bit of it, and I would do it again because I wouldn't take back who I am today for anything. All of those things created me,
Right.
so I can understand you completely. I know it's terrible and it's tragic and it leaves a hole in you forever. And I can relate and understand,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like, this is what it built.
Yeah.
And you're so amazing and strong and powerful as a person. And
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you want to help people. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic, how you turned yourself around like that, especially from coming from that environment. It's just, and like I hear you both talking. I didn't come from that environment. That's why I say we don't start on the same path.
No.
I mean, I was not a rich guy, believe it or not. My family was total middle class, okay, but I never starved or anything like that. We might not have expensive cars or expensive houses, but it's definitely environment. Environment is the number one thing for crime. It is.
Let me ask you, you grew up in a very loving home, 2 parents,
Yes.
they loved you.
Yes.
I saw that Mother's Day thing on...
Oh, did you see that?
Yeah, that made me
I know.
cry. I did. You gotta see it. I was like, I'm standing upset. I'm like,
Listen, the older I get more emotion. Am I right?
I have 2 deceased parents
So
as
what?
well, and I have them a little bit younger in
Yeah.
life for me, and that's one of my tragedies because I had a beautiful upbringing. My parents were amazing.
Right.
I love them. And they died fairly young, and so it kind of resonated with me when I watched it. And I was like, I understand how he feels like that. I'm like, Jamie usually has me laughing on these, but yeah. So being that do you feel like the love that you had and just the path that you've always been on, I guess a good guy, good person, made you want to help people? Made you want to say, you know what, the world maybe didn't have it as good as I did. Let me give back? Because that's what it seems like you do. You're always giving back. You're always helping somebody.
It was really weird. That when I decided to be a cop, it was weird because my dad was like, what do you want to do? Right? My dad was trying to force me to go into the military. He was like, you know what, the military's... And actually, I believe the military is a good choice for people. I really do. My dad's like, you should be... Because I was around cops my whole life because my dad owned a gas station.
Okay.
So the state police had the contract for the gas there. So the cops would all come there. So all my dad's friends were cops.
Okay.
So I think that led me to that because all my dad's friends were cops. And well,
then again, wait. You went to what was familiar.
That's exactly right. So my dad's like, maybe you should go in the Coast Guard. My dad's like, go in the Coast Guard, he goes. And I said, well, I was thinking maybe I'll go into criminal justice. And my dad's like, go into Coast Guard, it's like being a cop on the water. For some reason, my dad wanted me to be a Coast Guard, right? But then I decided to go to college for criminal justice. While I was in college for criminal justice, I started taking civil service tests for police jobs. And I ended up getting hired while I was in college. And but I did go back and get my degree at night, but I did take the job, of course, and then went back to college at night. But yeah, I mean, there's times that throughout my career, like any career, I felt like quitting. I mean, honestly, there was times I came home like, I can't stand this job. But then I looked, I had 3 kids. I can't just quit a job. But there was times the job gets frustrating.
Yeah.
It really does. And it eats at you. And a lot of cops have mental health problems.
Yeah.
A lot of cops are abusers
Absolutely.
at home. A lot of cops are alcoholics.
I was just going to say,
Yes.
alcoholics, drug users. I do know a lot of cops in New York that just I had grown up with, and I'm at the age now where everyone's retiring from, and I'm seeing like a couple of the cops that I had went to high school, college with now, alcoholic, drug users, and it's like this is law enforcement.
Yes.
It's because they're seeing so much stuff.
It's exactly right. They're self-medicating themselves. They're all messed up. So they're doing. I mean, cops will do drugs. They're the abusers at home. It happens.
Tell me about the abusers at home. Do you think that's a power thing, or do you think that's just them, having all this on their back and shoulders, and they're projecting that onto their wives or husbands?
Here's the thing: being a cop, you are in charge of everything. Like when you come to a scene, you're in charge. Like, and you feel that. Like,
Sure.
You're gonna do this. You're gonna do that. I'm in charge here. And I think cops take that home with them. Like they're in charge at home now, like they are on the street.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, when I went through the police academy, they told us 3 things. They told us, cops usually get fired, and addiction problems, drugs,
Sure.
alcohol, women problems. I mean, that's a big thing that I've seen in police. I'm not saying women are the problem, I'm saying cops are the problem with women because, they're having affairs behind their wife's back. I've probably had, that I know, 2 to 3 cops that got another woman pregnant while they were married.
Yeah.
So it's all.
So you guys are worse than basketball players.
I'm just saying that
You're worse than basketball players.
I believe it's the mental of doing this every day.
Absolutely.
And it just drains on them, and they want to get away from their reality.
Sure.
And here's the other thing with men, and I'm sure you guys know that men, we don't get help.
No.
We don't even go to the doctor unless we're dying. We need an ambulance. We won't go to the doctor. So mental health, there's no way we're going for mental health.
Yeah.
And we had a mental health professional on our staff at the police department, and any bad thing that we would see, they would ask me, Danny, do you want to see him? And of course, I say no. all cops say no, because if you say yes, and I'm going to be honest with you, if I say yes, it'll go through the whole department. Sergeant Minor is crazy. He's seeking help. He's nuts.
Yeah.
He's going to get help. So we don't want to be stigmatized by that, so we don't get help.
There is such a stigma
Yes.
with men. There really is. Because women, it's like, oh, if a woman goes and gets therapy, so she has some stuff going on. But a man doesn't, so, oh, he's losing it. There's something not right. It's a loss of control. It's almost a sign of weakness, which is so opposite of the reality. The reality, it's a sign of strength.
Yes.
Yeah.
Blows my mind that there is a stigma still.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? This day and age, you would definitely not think it. But Carmynn, I'll tell you, when I was young and you asked to go to therapy at a certain age, and I'd be like, oh, my parents are like, is she all right? Like, it was like oh no, is she messed up now?
Yeah.
No, I just got to talk about some stuff. All right, guys, this episode's going so great. Please log right back into us. We're going to just take a few minutes, and we'll be right back with these guys.
This show is brought to you by Michelle Kubiak. If you want to buy or sell a home, call Michelle. 702-683-6576.
I can already feel you judging me, and not for what I've done in the past, but for what I'm about to do. I had what mattered, and I got careless. Like, I don't deserve more. I don't deserve sympathy. I don't deserve to be here.
Where the hell are you? Why aren't you answering your phone?
Jenna, what is the matter with you?
Someone once told me, you may not be everybody's cup of tea, but you're somebody's shot of whiskey.
Excuse me, ma'am. My car ran out of gas and I left my wallet at home. Could you please spare a couple dollars so I can refuel my vehicle?
I literally have nothing.
What's it gonna take to get you to join a program?
Get back, dog! If Jesus wanted you to have a dog, he would have blessed you with a bowl and a leash now, wouldn't he?
Traditional TV is going away. Hollywood is starting to fade. People are demanding real stories from real people. Our voices are now being heard in our own way. Podcasts, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok Live are becoming the norm. Internet TV has now reached the highest demand in human history. Social media shows is now the new media of the century.
Welcome back to Vegas Views. We have a great show, and we're still talking here, and we want to get into your brother's case, like totally into it, so I can get this video out there, and we can get somebody to solve this case for you. It'd be awesome. Do you think it would give your mother relief?
I think it would, yeah. I think it would be more for my mom than even for me. Because for me, it's been about like my healing journey. Like I feel like I've made peace with it, which was hard to say for a while, but my mom has not. And I don't know that I think that's part of it, is
Right.
not knowing like why or how or who. Yeah, that's big for her.
I agree with you. Don, I couldn't even imagine, like, missing people, cold cases like this, where there's always some kind of hope, especially with missing people, like they might be alive. You know what I mean? You're always living with that. And now you're living with, why did this happen? Who did this?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I couldn't even imagine living your whole life with one of your loved ones. It would bother me forever. So, I know that your mom's probably, I couldn't even imagine.
I think the thing for me, would most likely be just to think that somebody took someone's life that I cared so much about, and there's zero justice. They're not behind bars. They can do it again. Most of the time someone kills somebody, they do it again, right?
Of course.
They don't get caught, they're going to do it again. So this person's out there. So it's like, you took something so important from me, and nothing can happen to it. You got away with taking away something and creating this in my journey that I should not have had to go through. That's what I think would have got me, why I would say seek justice 100%. Yeah.
I totally agree with you. Have they reached out? When would you know the last time the police reached out? It's probably been years. Am I right?
I think it's been years, yeah.
Yeah. See, the one thing, I was in charge of our detective division. I actually put it in our computer system. So officers, something would pop up, they would call victims' families. So they would stay in touch with them, because that's so important. If a victim's family's not hearing from you, they believe you're not doing anything. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And I'm sorry, I got to go back to the Idaho case, but that was a big thing in the Idaho case. The parents weren't hearing from the police, so they started assuming that the police weren't doing anything. So to me, to officers out there, communications with your victim's family is huge.
Let me ask you though, Danny, in the case that Carmynn's family hasn't heard anything, would you say that possibly the police weren't doing anything about it?
I would say right now they're probably doing absolutely nothing. I mean, I'm going to be totally honest with you. It's in a cold case file, and unless some miracle comes up, that some guy in prison talks and says this person murdered your brother, it's not going to be solved until some kind of pressure or some kind of new evidence comes up. Sure. That's why getting videos out there and everything, anybody just to say anything listen, somebody saw your brother being murdered. We all know that. Without a doubt, somebody's out there that knows this. And now, what's it, 7 years? Maybe they matured. Maybe they were young kids. Maybe they have families of their own now, and maybe they're thinking, my God, I'm living with this. I saw this happen.
I know what happened to
maybe we can get their feelings to come out and do the right thing. Yeah. That's my hope on every single case.
Do you see that often, where there were people mature, move forward from that lifestyle of change, and then people come forward?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I saw very few, I should say, but I've seen people come from that darkness, like you said, and become great people. I mean, great people. We got a couple minutes here. Let me tell you a quick story if you guys don't mind. We had two brothers. They were 16 and 17. The one brother got mad at his other brother, got one of them, do you remember them Rambo-style knives when we were kids, like the survival knives that they had, right? Of course. And back in the 80s, and people didn't carry the knife. I'd carry it on my hip. Yeah. Nowadays it'd be called, oh my God, there's a kid carrying a knife. The cops would be coming. But back then it was normal. Well, this one brother grabbed this knife, stabbed his brother right here in the leg, and hit the artery in his leg. Stabbed him over a fight. They were arguing. He stabbed them. Our cop showed up, and actually our cop luckily was an EMT also. He was able to grab the artery and hold that artery in this kid's leg. And again, these two brothers, bad family, bad everything, bad environment, bad everything. We ended up saving it. His name was Chris. My buddy saved his life. Here's the story. That kid was dedicated to us. He'd show up at the police department, hang out with us, come in and see us every day. He ended up joining the fire department. He ended up being a cop himself. He's been a cop now for about 20 years. That
is so awesome.
So there is good stories out there. This kid came from a horrible family where he was stabbed and almost murdered by his own brother. So there is good stories out there. But it's hard. You got to fight back, and we're all on a different starting line. If I was where you lived, I might not be here. I might be your brother. Do you know what I mean? It's just the way it is. And it stinks. Yeah. But that's why I want to help you. I want to help everybody. And I think, Dawn, you're the same way. You're like me. I want to help people. And you do too. So the three of us could get your brother's case out there. And oh my gosh, could you imagine if we got somebody to come forward? It'd be awesome. I got chills just thinking about that. Could you imagine that?
Just to have that clarity and say, I really know what happened to him.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about Will? So what was Will's last name? Bradley, same as yours? No, different last name?
We had different fathers. So his legal name was Barnabas William Kreitz.
Okay.
Barnabas William Kreitz.
He got bullied as a kid because his nickname was Barney, so he changed it. He went by his middle name after a while, like middle school or something like that.
Tell us a little bit about him.
But he was the smartest person I've ever known.
Wow.
He was like way ahead of his class, like board in school, that kind of kid. So he had kind of like two pathways going for him. Like when he was a little kid, he wanted to be the president. But then once our upbringing started to get to him, he was that kid who would bring a knife to school. So he started getting suspended and expelled and all of that. And because he was so smart, he would get in power struggles with people, power struggles with teachers. But he was also the most lovable, the most kind, the most enthusiastic. He was talented. He was musical. He had all these things going for him.
Was he an annoying little brother, or was he a cool little brother?
Oh, I loved him. He was my favorite.
So the way that the age group went, it was almost like a little baby to you.
Yeah.
Because you were so much older than him.
Yeah. That's where my motherly nature comes from.
Yeah.
And you know what? I see that a lot. I've seen that a lot where one sibling, if there's violence in the family, that one sibling becomes the mother also. I've seen that. I could see that just by you talking. I've seen that so many times, Don, where I see that one sibling in that house, she becomes the mother. She becomes a figure also to the younger kids. And that's what you did.
And I think also, too, it sounds like in that environment, God bless your mom, that she was dealing with so much that I'm sure she was trying to man that horrific relationship she was in. How she can't focus on these kids. Your brother was probably clinging to you, and then that love there was probably just between almost like a mother and a son between you and your brother.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah.
They did have a very close relationship though, because she did get out in 2009, 2010.
Okay.
I had already gone to college. Our relationship was not great because I had been in foster care the last year of high school. But she did. It was because of the stock market crash. What you said about money is just so true. Like, why didn't she leave? As a kid, you just don't understand.
Right.
Yeah. And then you grow up and you realize there are things my mom was going through that I couldn't even fathom.
Right.
So she and my brother were living. It was the two of them. My sister and my older sister was there for a while too, but they were kind of like each other's person at the end. Yeah. So, I mean, my brother was my best friend. I loved him. But my mom, I think he was her anchor, which is, and it's interesting because I kind of said that too, like my siblings were my why. But my mom, after she got out, I mean, when women get out of relationships like that, it's not immediately like, oh, I'm great.
No,
it's
like so much help.
It's alcohol
so much help.
And
Absolutely.
Confusion and who am I without that, and like how do I get a job, and how do I take, like, again, the stuff I didn't understand about how she took care of them afterwards, like just financially, it's just insane.
Can I ask you today, 100% forgiveness? You forgive your mom for everything, anything ill feeling you may have had? Do you have that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. That's
took me a long time.
Yeah.
Because like you just don't understand, and kids look to their parents to protect them. So like in this situation, you look to your mom to protect you from somebody she can't even protect herself from. Sure. And so there was a lot of anger there. But not anymore. Yeah.
Oh, you've cleaned up so nice. I know, just emotionally you like cleaned it all. It's good.
Yeah.
And you'll probably be on a hit show someday with this acting. I'll be
Sooner
saying, hey,
than later.
I hope you do. That'd be awesome.
The steps we're gonna take, Danny. So we're gonna definitely have her on the podcast, and then you're gonna go ahead and we're gonna make a video. And we're gonna get this out here. Right?
Yeah, I would love her to be on my Crime Solver podcast too. That would be awesome. Tell your story. We take live phone calls too at my podcast, so the phone could ring. People might be asking you questions, but it gets the word out there. You know what I mean? And I have most of my followers are here on the West Coast, so we get it out there. You know what I mean? So it'll be perfect. And then we'll do the TikTok. We'll get her on the podcast, and we'll just keep it out there. I'll ask all my followers to share it, so it doesn't just get out to 170,000 people. It gets out to more and more. And maybe somebody will hear something. You never know. You never know what could solve a case. Someday we might be solving the John Benet Ramsey case too. Somebody might come in there and solve it.
Okay, reality show. We're already into some reality stuff, but if you want to pick us up, we're going to do John Benet Ramsey. And there was another one too. So it's John Benet Ramsey, and there's another one that always sticks with me too. And I was thinking about the other night, I'm like, I gotta tell Danny this one. I forgot what it was. Oh, just real quick. Opinion on the Lacey Peterson. He's gone, he's in jail, blah, blah, blah. They're retrialing.
They're gonna retry that case? They're giving him a new trial, Scott Peterson.
Yes. So he's totally 100% guilty, right?
Listen, I remember I read about 3 books on that. I was very interested in that case. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
the thing about that case, and I think they're retrying it, I always felt he was guilty, but I always thought they didn't have a lot of evidence on it.
They're saying now there was evidence in the boat that's not. The evidence is not 100% what they said the first trial was the problems, and there was like a problem with 2 of the jurors. Too.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I always thought there was. I mean, they found the boat. Do you remember that case at all? He actually took his pregnant wife.
She was 9 months pregnant. It was
I
like the
do
night
remember.
before
Put her in a
Christmas.
boat.
Lacey Peterson.
Yeah, I remember.
Connor was the baby, unborn baby. Put her in the boat. Killed her. She was found like cemented, right? She was almost cemented. But there are things now where, I believe he did it, but there are things now. I gotta ask, and you're gonna get a lot of heat from this, but tell me about OJ.
Oh, he's guilty. I mean, he's just good. I remember that case. I mean, you probably don't remember that at all. But I remember hearing the verdict and thinking, oh my God.
It was insane.
Yeah.
It was insane.
But you never know. Here's the thing. When you go to juries, it's a gamble.
Yeah.
It's a gamble on both sides, the prosecution and the defense. Listen, especially in this environment now, you can't get 12 people to agree on anything now.
I know. Right?
Could you imagine getting 12 people to agree in guilt? It's hard.
Yeah.
That's why when you go to a jury, you never know what the hell's going to happen. Oops, sorry. You never know what's going to happen.
They probably have a delay.
Is that an ego problem? Like everybody thinks their opinion matters more than the facts?
Yes.
I guess.
Isn't
that weird?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's crazy.
Some of these cases blow my mind. That was the OJ blew my mind. I remember this was so
funny.
Casey Anthony.
Yes.
Believe that outcome. I was there yelling at the TV. I'm like, are you kidding me? The evidence, everything was right there. She killed this little girl.
How could you sit on a jury and this girl's child was missing for 3 months and she didn't tell anybody, and you're going to find her not guilty? That's stupidity.
I know.
I mean, I'm mad right now just thinking about it.
Can you believe she blamed the nanny? There was no existence. Zanny, the nanny. She blamed a non-existing
And then she
nanny.
blames her father.
Then she says her dad sexually abused her.
Which I know that is that even made her a worse person, that she's blaming her poor father. I mean, we all know her father didn't do that. It was some kind of defense to try to get her off, and it worked.
Just watching that trial, you could see how much mental, just everything was going on. There was something not right with her, and still to this day, she was doing like all these naked spreads, all this stuff. So she's trying to make a name for herself after killing her daughter. And I can't believe that jury found her not guilty. That blew my mind, and the OJ thing too blew my mind.
And why was that case in the media? Because she's a pretty girl.
That's it.
I mean, that's what it is. It depends what the media is going to grasp onto. She's a pretty girl.
Yeah.
That's why they grasped onto her case. That's why her case was the big public eye. It's just the way it is.
That wasn't even half as horrific. I mean, don't get me wrong. That was very horrific what happened to that baby. But it wasn't even half as horrific of some of those things that have happened down in Florida. And they don't pay attention because of what the people look like.
Oh, yeah, exactly. 100%. And the Casey Anthony, I was shocked. Were you familiar with that case at all? 3 months she didn't report her kid missing. It's just crazy. I personally don't think she murdered the kid. I think what she technically did with neglect. I think it was by accident. Neglect, and the kid died by neglect. I don't think she actually murdered him. I think the kid died by neglect, and then she tried to hide the body.
Yeah,
that's what I think. And she was a party animal. She was out every night. Her kid was dead, and she's out partying at nightclubs and everything.
In the trunk with tape over her.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's sick.
That one and then the other one will always bother me till this day, and I know she was found alive. We should do a show on this one day, but even though she's alive and healthy and well, we should try to get Elizabeth Smart with us.
Oh my gosh.
That's a story.
Yes,
that story stuck with me for years and years and years. Do you know that one?
Yeah.
In Utah, where she was taken out of her home as a little girl, about 14. They kept her for 9 months.
Yes.
And she is another beautiful story, beautiful soul, because she's come around and she helps so many people. She's healed and has her own beautiful family. And there are some amazing stories. Carmynn, I'm so sorry for what happened, but I am so happy and excited that you're here today. I'm glad you're in my life personally. I adore you. You are going to do great in New York. Your future is so bright. And thank you for putting the work in this world for yourself and to help others too, because people like you are making this world go around, and we're healing. And we're not healing at the speed we need to be healing, obviously, but we're healing. Some of us are healing. So guys, get out there. If you guys have some general generational curses to break, or there's a pattern in your lives, or domestic violence, or get yourself some help. There's so many numbers. I'm going to sound like Dave right now. 211, right?
Yes.
Okay, 211, guys. You can call 211. You need mental health services. Call them up before, or get to someone like Carmynn that could help you and get you to the, best version of who you are. Maybe get rid of some of that trauma, and so you don't end up on Danny screaming at you on a show.
That's true.
Another one.
Where do you hear this
Right
from?
on his TikTok. He is so funny and he's the best. And I know these are serious topics, but I use it for entertainment because, yes, I care about it and I want to help and I'll do anything, repost, but I flip and these things are funny and great. And it's good to be able to kind of make light of this. But if you guys do have a serious story, something you want to share with us, please hit us up. One thing, Dream Tracks 877 Acting 4, Dream Set 877 Acting 4. Get in touch with us, guys. Modeling, acting, TV, commercial, film, print. You can check Carmynn out. She's going to be in New York City June 24th to June 30th. I will, air some footage for you guys. My handle, Dawn Sullivan _ Go to dreamtracksacademy.com. Danny, tell these guys how they can get in touch with you, how they can send you a bunch of mail, how they can send you ways to get some help from you.
Listen, the best thing, if you have a cold case, you have a missing person, email means the best. The crime solver at yahoo.com, even though I get made fun that I have a Yahoo email. I'm old. Of course I have a Yahoo email.
God, that was like one step.
He made fun of me.
I'm sure you guys say AOL to a Yahoo.
I'm going to change it to Gmail so I don't get made fun
of.
I'll change it to Gmail.
You're dating us.
I know. Jeez.
At least it's not Hotmail.
And can you imagine if it was Hotmail? There he is. He'll be on his MySpace. Just kidding. Can you tell these guys how to get in touch with you if they want to? Their Instagram handle, Facebook, however you're comfortable with these guys getting in touch with you.
Yeah, just use my name, Carmynn Bradley. My first name is spelled a little funky, so CarmYnn. My Instagram is Carmynn _ Bradley, I think. My Gmail is just CarmynnBradley@gmail, and you can find me Carmynn Bradley on Facebook as well.
And guys, if you're looking to hire actresses, models, anything like that, hit me up, Dawn Sullivan _ or 877 Acting 4. Carmynn's your girl. I'm telling you, I got to market Carmynn's your girl. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. We will see you next Tuesday. Danny and myself, we're going to have a great story for you guys. Tune in.